All right, team, welcome back to TNT Digital Mindset. Today, I'm really excited to dive into some cutting-edge stuff. I've been poring over the latest research on digital trends, and honestly, it's fascinating. I've even leveraged some advanced AI, yeah, you heard that right, to break down the core insights. This way, we can get straight to the actionable strategy. So without further ado, let's jump in.
Have you ever looked at some massive global company and just wondered, how in the world did they get there? How does a tiny startup become a giant? It's a journey that fascinates all of us. Welcome back to TNT Digital Mindset. We've analyzed the latest data on the life cycle of a business to help you sharpen your strategic thinking, and we're going to break it all down for you right now.
So, yeah, that really is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Every entrepreneur asks themselves this. But here's the thing. The answer isn't magic. And it's not just pure luck either. It turns out it's a surprisingly predictable journey. It's a path with really clear signposts and challenges that, honestly, if you have the right map, anyone can learn to navigate.
We like to call this the founder's ascent. Just picture it like a step-by-step climb up a mountain. You start with just a spark of an idea, and you climb all the way to a global institution. So let's start at base camp, with stage 1.
Okay, what's so interesting about this first stage is just how many people get it wrong right out of the gate. They usually fall into one of two traps. First, they chase some hot trend, like, say, AI, without having any real expertise. Or they go the other way and pursue a personal passion, like writing poetry, that, well, just doesn't have a viable market. Both of those paths, they're pretty much a recipe for failure.
So how do you avoid those traps? Well, there's this really powerful tool, a Japanese concept called ikigai. It basically means your reason for being. It forces you to find that perfect sweet spot where your talents, your passions, and a genuine market need all come together. A business that's built in that sweet spot isn't just commercially viable, it's personally sustainable for the long haul. And this brings us to another critical idea. See, even with a brilliant ikigai idea, you don't want to just jump into what's called a red ocean, a market that's just bloody with competitors all fighting over the same customers. The real goal is to find or even create a blue ocean. Cirque du Soleil is the classic example here. They didn't try to build a better, cheaper circus. No way. They created a whole new category by blending circus arts with high-end theater. And by doing that, they attracted a totally new audience that was willing to pay a premium.
All right, let's climb up to stage 2 and see how this all connects. Once you've got your idea, the number of problems you have to solve can feel, well, completely overwhelming. But the key principle here is actually pretty simple. Don't try to solve every problem at once. Just focus on the one that's right in front of you. Think of your business like a pipe. Your only job is to find and clear the next bottleneck to get things flowing.
So, what are those first few bottlenecks you got to clear? First up is legitimacy. You need to register your business, open a bank account, make it officially real. Second, you need visibility. Launch the thing, get attention, tell everyone you know. And third, you need revenue. The whole point is to turn that initial buzz into a consistent, predictable stream of sales. If you can solve these three, and in this exact order, you've successfully turned an idea into a real, functioning operation.
And now for stage 3. You've built the foundation, but to really grow, you've got to fuel the engine. And there's a timeless rule in business that you just can't ignore. Money follows skill. Scaling up demands a completely new set of capabilities.
You see, to build a truly powerful growth engine, you have to make a huge shift. You go from just doing all the work yourself to mastering the skills that actually multiply your efforts. We're going to cover the 3 most critical skills that form the absolute bedrock of any company that's built to scale.
First on the list is strategy, and this is so much more than just having a good idea. It's the skill of seeing where the world is headed and positioning yourself to win in the long term. I mean, look at Netflix. They didn't just cling to their profitable DVD business. No, they saw the future was streaming and made an incredibly risky pivot, basically cannibalizing their own business to go dominate the new market they were helping to create. That's strategy.
Next up is sales. And you need to forget that pushy salesman stereotype immediately. At its highest level, sales is simply the skill of helping people solve their problems with your solution. It's really about empathy and clear communication. If you can master the art of genuinely helping your customers make the right decision for them, you will never have to worry about money again.
And finally, leadership. This isn't about being the boss and just barking orders. It's about shaping a culture that empowers your entire team to do their absolute best work. Think about it. When Satya Nadella took over Microsoft, his single biggest change
was shifting the company from this toxic know-it-all culture to a curious learn-it-all culture. That one leadership decision unleashed a wave of innovation that made them one of the most valuable companies on the planet.
Okay, let's keep climbing to the fourth stage, the scale. This is where things get really serious. Going from a successful small business to a dominant billion-dollar company is, without a doubt, one of the hardest leaps in the entire business world.
And the numbers here, they're absolutely staggering. Fewer than 5% of businesses ever make it past $1 million in annual revenue. $1 billion? That is a statistical anomaly. So here at TNT Digital Mindset, we had to ask the crucial question: what separates that tiny fraction that actually makes the leap?
The answer, and this is a key insight for the TNT Digital Mindset community, is this idea of a competitive moat. You have to build a unique advantage that protects your business from copycats. Think of Apple's inescapable ecosystem of devices or Amazon's untouchable distribution network. A moat is what allows you to not just grow, but to defend that growth against absolutely everyone.
And building that moat really rests on a few key pillars. You need a product that completely defines its category, kind of like the Tesla Model S did for electric cars. You need a distribution system that can scale globally. You need a powerful culture that drives relentless innovation, an iconic brand that people feel genuinely connected to. And finally, the operational excellence to deliver on your promise, flawlessly every single time.
And that brings us to the final stage, the summit. Once a company reaches this massive scale, the founder's role changes completely. So it's time to debunk some myths about what it's really like at the very top.
A Fortune 500 CEO's day doesn't really look productive in the way you and I might think. They aren't in their inbox all day or building spreadsheets. Their entire job has been distilled down to one single function: making a very small number of very high-stakes decisions correctly. Their output isn't measured in tasks completed, but in the quality of those decisions.
Now at this level, you really see two different types of leaders emerge. You have the builder. That's the visionary risk-taker like a Steve Jobs, who creates something totally new from nothing. And then you have the optimizer, the steady manager like Tim Cook, who excels at refining and scaling what's already there. And most great companies need to transition from a builder to an optimizer as they mature, because you simply can't run a $3 trillion company with that same chaotic garage startup energy.
So there you have it, the 5 stages of the founder's ascent, from a tiny spark of an idea all the way to the summit of the business world. We've laid out the map for you, but the journey, that's all yours. So the only question left is, where on this path will you begin? If you want to master the digital economy, make sure to subscribe to TNT Digital Mindset. Thanks for listening.